Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this nice, bright Thursday evening. I think yesterday was the first day when I heard that on the East Coast it was a really warm, nice weather. And
Mhm.
I think it continues today, and we appreciate you being with us here. Today's topic is secrets of resilience. The dictionary definition of resilience is a capacity to bounce back from the tough situations. I think today's time kind of demands that we need to, we should be able to bounce back and learn the tricks of the trade, how actually to do it. Before I invite our speaker for today, Sister Judy Rogers, just a couple of announcements. We do have a Spanish translation available. So if anyone prefers to hear this in Spanish, you can just go in the, in your language and just choose Spanish. There's always an opportunity to ask questions. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. Um, and you can also ask when Sister Judy opens the floor to ask, for questions towards the end of the talk. So without any delay, Sister Judy.
Thank you, Anita. It's lovely to be with you all. Of course, all I can see are your little names. I can only see one or two of you, your faces. I understand how that is. But if any of you'd like to come on and be visible, I would love that. Um, so thank you. Thank you. That's very nice for me to look at faces. So tonight, we're talking about resilience. Um, And it's perfect that we're talking about resilience in the spring because when everything comes back to life like this, if you live in the Northeast, like most of us do, in December, it'd be hard to talk you, if you'd never lived through a winter and spring here and you looked at the dead trees, you'd be pretty sure that this was it, right? But if you live through spring like we have, you know that if you hang on long enough, somewhere in May, life will come back. And that's what's happening now. I live in the Catskills and Peace Village, which is the retreat center of the Brahma Kumaris, as some of you know. And we've been closed for so long, 14 months. We're hoping to be able to reopen this summer. But so far, it's just a few of us here enjoying this beautiful spring. So it's the time to talk about resilience. And I'm going to try to remember to go slow so the translation works. So I want to start out by telling you about a dream that I had over 20 years ago. So I had this dream that I was in a bad place. I mean, I was in a dangerous place. And I don't remember now if it was a dangerous city neighborhood or if it was a forest, but it was a scary place. And I was sort of uncomfortable. And my cell phone rang. And I answered my cell phone. And this voice said, "This is your father speaking. And I know you have wandered into a dangerous place. But if you stay on the phone with me, I'll get you out of there. And if our connection breaks, I'll call you back." And so this is sort of the heart of some of what I want to talk about this evening, because as Anita said, these are hard times. And resilience, which sounds like such a breezy topic, is actually quite deep. And so I'm going to go a little bit slow. I'm going to invite you to interrupt me if you want to. I'm okay with that. So let's start out with the idea of who are we. I'm going to propose that we have forgotten who we are. We think we are either we're Democrats or we're Republicans, or we're um, born in America or were immigrants or were uh, people who commute or people who work from home or or whatever profession we are, um, or whatever gender we are, or whatever race we are, or whatever country we're from. All of that is very tied in with who we think we are. And in fact, as you know, those of you who are here, you must be on a spiritual path. This is a spiritual talk. We're not going to, this is not psychological. So, you know, I'm telling you something, you know, that we are not that. We are these gorgeous creatures. We are light. We are spirit. We are eternal. We are self renewing. We are innately filled with these qualities of absolute peace, which includes contentment, acceptance, stability. We are completely loving, not because the thing in front of us is lovable, but because it is our nature to be completely loving. And we are joyful. We are blissful. We are beyond contented in our natural state. That's who we are. Now, I know a lot of people who are not feeling that way right now, and you probably do too. There is a lot of people right now who are in a very difficult place. So today at lunch, I sat with this young man who had a very close and loving relationship with his mom. His mother, we all have known her as being extremely dynamic and big hearted and generous and beautiful and fairly young. She was still in her 50s. And suddenly, in a period of 5 days in April, he lost her. She went to the hospital and she was gone within 2 days as he sat with her. So when I saw him come into the dining room, I could feel his sorrow. I mean, his sorrow entered the dining room before he did. And I didn't need to ask him how he was. I knew that he was heartbroken. You know, his heart had really broken when he lost his mom, and he was trying everything he knew, and all he could say was, I'm just really sad. I'm really heartbroken. And I know many people that are in the place just like him, other people who have lost someone who are so much in a place of missing. I have another couple of friends. It's a couple. They've been extremely loving parents to two children. And at some point in the last year, one of the children just decided that he didn't want to live anymore. He was discouraged. He didn't want to do anything. He had no energy. He didn't want to get out of bed. He didn't want to go to school. He didn't want to get a job. He was really, really fragile. And they were like baffled. How can someone who's been this loved and cared for and has had so much support suddenly find themselves in a place where they're in this kind of despair? Now, I don't want to, we could spend the rest of the night talking about the cases we know, right, of people who are struggling. And I'm offering this because I've just told you our natural state, that we're loving and peaceful and joyful and all that. And now we all know so many who are not in that place. Um, and you know, when difficult things happen, the mind gets stuck. And what happens is it gets filled with memory, it gets filled with these ideas of what could happen. it gets filled with, in the case of this young man, just memory and wanting, missing, and it just sits there in the mind, right? You know this feeling. And what happens in the heart? So the heart has a habit anyway of storing things. It stores worry. It gives harbor to fear. It gives harbor to sadness. That's the way the heart is. It also holds love and joy, but it also holds these other things. So what was happening for this young guy today was his heart is just heavy with sorrow, and his mind is just replaying scenes with her. He came today because she would have come today. She would have brought flowers, so he went and brought flowers. You know, he's just his mind and consciousness and his heart are filled with this. So when this happens to us or to anyone, they start to lose focus, they start to lose energy, and they start to lose touch with what gives life. Life becomes very thin and it becomes very dry. And so I know I'm telling you things you know, and I don't want to linger here, but I want to acknowledge that that's the times we're in. That dream that I had, that I'd wandered into a dangerous place, in many ways, there are aspects of this time that have that character. And we don't have enough time tonight for me to go into the times. Maybe another time I'll meet with you and we can talk about that. But it is a difficult time. It's a time when there's a lot of settling going on of karmas. There's a lot of things that are really challenging right now. So, what do we have to do to come back from a place like this? So, I would say that if we're in a place that feels like we've lost our life, what we have to do is we have to return to what gives life. And what gives life? So we just talked about it. What I described is the aspects of the soul. That's what gives life. The soul is life, right? When the soul leaves the body, it takes life with it. And you have left just the shell, just matter. So the soul is life. And so the qualities we talked about of purity and peace and love and joy all create a certain power of life in the soul. So somehow we have to figure out how to create an inner atmosphere with these characteristics, an inner atmosphere of peace, an inner atmosphere of love, of happiness. We have to somehow figure out how to do that. And it's hard enough doing that if you're sitting in a pretty place and everything's going okay. But how in the world do you do that when you've just lost your mom? Or you feel like your child is really at risk, or all the other things, you've gotten a difficult diagnosis, your husband loses his job, or your job is at risk, or all of those things. So, how do we do this? Now, I'm going to give you the simple answer, and then, and then we're going to talk about it. So, how do we do this? We invoke into the soul this quality that we want. We invoke it in. Now, it's already there. So, when I say we invoke it, in some ways, you're pulling it up more than you're pulling it down. You're pulling forward something in yourself that you know is there, even if you're not feeling it right now. You're calling on that thing. Now, I want to just try an experiment with you. So I'm saying to you, we have to pull into ourselves this quality and be able to make this quality expand and fill our inner awareness. But how easy is that? So, this little experiment, I want you to pick a quality. I'm going to suggest you pick the quality of unconditional love, because isn't that what everybody wants? Don't we just want someone to just love us so much that no matter what we do, they love us anyway? They cannot not love us. We can behave badly. We can do anything. They still love us. Their love for us is unconditional. A lot of people find this in their pets, right? They may not find it in a human being, but their dog will love them no matter what. So you pick whatever. But I want you to pull forward this quality. And think for a minute, make sure you've got a good one. If you don't want to do unconditional love, you can do peace, you can do mercy, you can do forgiveness. Just pick something that you would like to be able to pull into you. And I'm going to time us for 1 minute. And your job is just to hold this thought, okay? Ready? Okay, hold it. And here we go. Okay. How did you do? Was it easy? A little bit hard? Of course, I can't see most of you, so we really can't have this conversation. But what I'm going to suggest is that, it sounds pretty easy, like I should be able to do that, but actually, it's not so easy, especially when we're in a low place, right? Because what happens? The thought keeps coming back. Is she going to be okay? Is he going to be okay? How am I going to make it without her or him? Is this diagnosis going to be okay? Am I, going to keep my job? I mean, round and round and round and round these things go. And so this is what is happening to so many of us, that inside we have this dis-ease, this kind of this disturbance. It's like we got a storm inside the mind that's going on. And even though we are trying really hard to be, especially if you're trying to be good for someone else, good for your kids or good for at work, it's really hard. It's really hard to be able to hold that state of mind and that state in your heart.
Sister Judy, there's a request, a question. If you can elaborate on unconditional love.
Unconditional love. Unconditional love means that love comes to you even if you're not lovable, even if you don't feel you deserve it, even if you feel that you've done something so bad, so unforgivable that no one could possibly love you, even if you've made a profound mistake, this love would still be there for you. It's the kind of love that we understand that God has for souls. Probably for most human beings, the closest they come is probably as being a parent. When you love this child, no matter how badly they behave, failing that, it could be your pet. Like I say, for some people, their pet's the closest they come. But in other words, these qualities that are innate in the soul are what gives life. So when we try to solve this resilience puzzle, we don't have to go anywhere else. We have what we need to be resilient. It's not something we're going to go outside and learn. There are lots of conferences on resilience right now, and there's lots of psychological remedies. But what I'm talking with you about here is a spiritual remedy. You know, there's the exterior world, the world of matter, and we are so attracted to that world. You know, we're so caught up in the headlines and the stories and the media and entertainment and buying things and Amazon and everything that comes to us from the outside world. We are absorbed in the outside world. We're often fascinated, even if we're upset by it. We're still fascinated by it. And so that fascination that we have for the world actually pulls us away from ourselves. And life, resilience comes from life, right? It's the renewal of life. That is a completely internal state. Now, I'm guessing that some of you are students of Raj Yoga, that you study meditation at the meditation center somewhere, either in Manhattan or Miami or Peace Village or somewhere, Washington, Boston, somewhere. And one of the things we talk about a lot is the difference between being body conscious and being soul conscious. So when I am in this state we call body conscious, what that really means is I am absorbed with the world of matter. And this can be any aspect of matter. It can be other people. It can be my own body, the efforts I make to look young or beautiful or thin or glamorous or whatever. It can be with people in my family. It can be with jobs and titles and all of that. All of that is what we call body consciousness. And body consciousness is very tiring. It wears us out. And yet it is the habit of our culture. We are a very extroverted culture. And when I say our culture, there are many cultures, but I'm talking about in the US and really in most modern cultures at this time, we are very attracted to the world and worried about it, right? I mean, we're concerned about the world, which is part of the reason that we're so attracted. But it's that very attraction and our attachment to it that's causing our distress. So what happens in the case of the young man who came for lunch? So he's thinking about his mom. He's attached to the memories of what it was to be with his mom. And we get attached to memory. We get attached to the future. We've got an idea of the future, how I should be, how my kids should be, how my job should be. We get absorbed in sort of what everyone around us is doing. All of those pulls on the soul pull us away from life. That's what body consciousness is. Body consciousness is such a pull of the influences on the soul that the soul leaves itself and goes out and attaches to the world. And this is where our heaviness and sorrow come. So the reason that we take up meditation, the reason that we study spiritual things is to try to increase our spiritual capacity. So what does that mean? So I remember one time I was writing a book on one of our spiritual heroes, Dadi Janki, who some of you would have met. Um, and I was interviewing the then president of India about her. And he said, you know, she weeds her mind like a garden. In other words, she could take one of those thoughts, a negative thought, a thought of fear, a feeling of fear, anxiety, and remove it from the mind, which sounds so easy, but is so hard because the roots of these things are so deep. And because the habits of the mind are so deep. So I talked a minute ago about creating an inner atmosphere, right? An inner atmosphere of joy or an inner atmosphere of love. Now, the way we shift the atmosphere inside is we give the mind a thought, kind of like you would give a child a popsicle, right? You say, here, lick on this and sit quietly in this chair. And well, this is what you're doing with the mind. You give the mind a thought. Now, I said to you, why don't you give your mind the thought of unconditional love and see if the mind will hold the thought of unconditional love? And that's really the process by which you find your way out of that bad neighborhood I was telling you about. You're giving your mind and your heart the thought and the feeling that is buoyant, that is life filled. Now, what happens because we are influenced by the world, what comes crowding in from the street, like the siren noises all day long, is all those other worries and thoughts, right? So you're here holding on to your thought of altruistic love, and here comes a memory of a bad engagement you had with someone in the morning, or somebody bumped into your car and you've got a little bump in the fender, or someone you love just got a bad diagnosis. All that stuff comes crowding back in. And what happens to the little thought you were holding, right? You lose that. And now your mind is filled with this other stuff. So this is this war that goes on inside. Now, it's not just that those outside things come in and crowd it out, but your inner habits also crowd out your mind. So all of us have certain inner habits. We have certain tendencies to think in certain ways. So some people, if we were all on camera, we were all in the room together, and I said, how many of you tend to think about the past? Some of you would go, yeah, I tend to think about the past. And when we do that, we often have regret. If only I had done this, if only I had said this, if only he hadn't done that or they hadn't done that. So some people have that habit of mind. Other people have a habit of the future, which often comes with a bit of anxiety. How's this going to work? What's going to happen? What can I do now to make sure that other thing doesn't happen? Right? So we're always kind of tilting towards the future and worrying about that. Some of us have a habit of comparing ourselves, kind of, am I doing okay? And you look at your brothers or your sisters or your siblings or your colleagues at work or whatever, and what you're saying is, how am I doing? Look at the vacation they're taking. Look at how their kids are doing. Look at the house they're, et cetera, et cetera. We never feel better when we do that, right? We always, even if we're doing pretty well, we never feel better after that. We always feel worse. So these are patterns. We call them sanskaras. These are patterns in the soul that have developed over time that create an inner atmosphere. And so our feelings of discouragement and fear and sadness, not only do they come from events like losing someone or having a bad diagnosis, but they come from our inner habit of thinking and feeling. And some of us grew up in a household where our parents constantly criticized us. You'll never make anything of yourself. What makes you think you can do this, right? I mean, certain people I know, that was what their parents said all the time. So they carry that parent's voice in their head, still in their life. They're still hearing that voice. And they say it to themselves, I'll never get this. This will never work for me. So the inner turmoil and the outer turmoil conspire to create that atmosphere in your heart and mind that make you feel heavy. It's very easy to have happen. Look what's going on outside. And look what the media tells us is going on outside. So we hear it twice, right? We hear whatever we encounter and then whatever we hear again. So that's what we're up against. We're up against the outside world and we're up against our own inner habits. Now, I told you at the beginning, you are naturally gorgeous. You are so beautiful, so loving, so sweet, so humble, so kind, merciful, compassionate, joyful. So how do we make sure that that innate nature of yours is creating your inner atmosphere and not these patterns of discouragement that we just talked about, or all of that incoming traffic from the outside world? That's the dilemma of living in 2021, right? Time of COVID, time of climate change, go on and on and on. How we can do this, but how do we do this? So this is where your meditation practice comes in. And I've said this before here, and I just can't say it enough. You have got to have a daily meditation practice. If you're going to do the kind of changing of that inner atmosphere to create a resilient state, you can't meditate just when you're having a bad day. Uh-oh, things didn't go well. I think I'll sit and meditate. Or conversely, when you're having a good day, I'll sit and meditate. It's got to be something you do every single day because you are building spiritual capacity. What is spiritual capacity? Well, if I had said to you, okay, I want you to hold a positive thought, and now I'm going to set this timer for 20 minutes. Let's see how you do. No other thought for 20 minutes, just deep contentment or just altruistic love, unconditional love. That's how strong you have to be. That strong. Why? Because that's how much you're up against with the inner atmosphere and the incoming from the outside. So your ability to build spiritual capacity means that you can bring a thought into your mind and a feeling into your heart, and that you have such clarity and such commitment and such a strong practice that you can hold that state for as long as you need to. For yourself and for those you love. Because I would bet that everyone here tonight is probably supporting many people. I'm just guessing. If you have enough of a practice that you're spending a gorgeous spring evening thinking about resilience, I'm guessing you have a lot of people counting on you. So that's the aim, is that you are going to create such a practice that when you need to hold an inner state, you can do that. That means that whenever a negative thought comes in about anybody, about yourself or anybody, you don't let it stay. Even for a second. The instant you notice it, you pull it out. Why do you do that? Because that negative thought has a vibration. I don't like that person. He's a bully. She's a liar, right? All those kinds of thoughts, they don't hurt those other people. They're sitting in your heart, creating a vibration in your heart and creating an inner atmosphere inside of you and destabilizing you. So one negative thought is really harmful for your inner atmosphere. It will rob you of your resilience. It will cover up your love. It will destabilize your peace. One thought. Now, you could say, well, this is ridiculous. There's no way that I can manage every thought in my mind. And I'm going to say to you, that's what we have to do. Ridiculous or not, that's what we have to do. This is not mindfulness. This is Raj Yoga. We're talking about developing the ability to be such a self-sovereign that the state of your mind and the state of your heart is something that you create. Now, there's more than one reason to do this. I mean, so far, what I'm saying to you is, look, if you can become soul conscious, if you can sustain, I won't even say if, when you are soul conscious and when you are sustaining these inner atmospheres of joy and peace and love and contentment and compassion and mercy, that is service right there, even if you never leave your house. Why? Because each of those positive thoughts sets off a ripple effect. It fills your heart, it fills your body, it fills your apartment or your condo or your house, wherever you live, and it touches every single person who is in your sphere of connection. If you never go anywhere else, when people say to you, pray for me, that's what they're saying. Hold that powerful thought for me. Hold that thought of love. Hold that thought of peace. Hold that thought of compassion. So our ability to do that is service, and that is the road to resilience. Now, there's more to it than that, because when you are able to stay in that state of soul consciousness, so you, the soul, you're sitting right here, right? You're on the seat of the soul is right behind the eyes. You're the point of light behind the eyes. You've expanded, you're filling all the body, but the seat of the soul is here. You are completely stable. You are completely at peace. You are totally loving to everything, no matter how dreadful they are. And you are blissful. From that place, you can then connect to the source of life, whatever you call that one. There's 1,000 names for God. But God is the source of life. That is the source of goodness. We are naturally loving. God is the ocean of love, a point and a vibrational field. We are naturally peaceful. God is the point of peace and also a field, an ocean of peace. That is the source of life. So when we are soul conscious, that is, I am in the awareness that I am light, I am consciousness. Now I can connect with that one because that one is also light, light to light. You know, many of us had some thoughts about God growing up, or maybe we might have prayed, we may have offered, you know, we worshiped in various ways. Many of us had some kind of a path as a child. And I think children do have some kind of magical connection with God. I don't know what it is, but their innocence or something, I think, allows them to feel closer. But also, a lot of us lost that contact as we got to be adults. And calling out to God is not the same as connecting to God. In other words, I, Judy, am having a difficult time and I call out, God, I am having a difficult time. I need your help. I need your grace. I need your love. I need your intervention. I need you to do something. I'm not saying that there isn't a response that we get from that. But what I want to propose to you is that when the soul is stabilized in the state of soul consciousness, and then we turn our attention up and we make the connection with that source, which you can actually feel. It will feel like a current, a very subtle current coming down. Now it's not just your love, it is that endless source of love. It's not just your peace, it's this ocean of peace, this river of peace and happiness. So when you are able to develop this and stabilize yourself in soul consciousness, you can then access this other source. And then you are resilient in ways that will support you, that will keep you going, that will sustain you. This is Raj Yoga. The ability of an individual to sit, turn their face inside, locate themselves at the seat of the soul as a soul, and then connect with the divine. From this place, you have amazing spiritual power. Amazing. Power to heal, power of insight, power of intuition. You can actually, not only will you know what's going on in the mind and heart of someone who's in front of you, you actually can change what's going on in the mind and heart of the person in front of you. They can be sitting there in deep sadness or deep anger. And you can, through the power of that soul conscious state, you're sending the current of that state you're holding. So if you see this person is in distress, they're in deep sadness, you send love. You don't have to say anything. You can say things. You can say, and whatever comes out will be beautiful. But you don't have to say anything because you're speaking to the soul, and the language of the soul is silence. So you hold the thought, this one needs love. You're pulling down the love of the divine. You're sharing the love of the divine with the other one. That current of that love is going to them. You're looking at them with your eyes are open. You're holding in a place of real love and compassion and mercy. You feel love for them. And as you do that, that current of love that you're sending enters that soul and begins to change what's going on inside of them. This is the power of your spiritual practice. The ability to change your inner state and then to transform the inner state of those around you. And our understanding is that the task of this time is renewal. Renewal of the self and renewal of the world. And that it happens one soul at a time. Which sounds like a slow business with 7 billion people, doesn't it? But actually, when you're working with energy, with light, with these currents of these innate virtues, it's very fast, right? Words are slow, projects are slow, initiatives are slow. But serving with your mind, mansa seva, serving with your mind, is fast. So this is the secret to resilience. That you can learn how to not just, you start, if you have to, you start with one thought, right? But what you really want to do is you want to change these patterns inside of you. That's your real aim with your practice. You want to change these patterns inside of you so that your default state is contentment. Your natural state is joy and happiness and sweetness and humility and lightness and compassion. Right? So let me pause and ask if you have any questions or thoughts or ideas or experiences or anything you want to share.
Sister Judy, there's no questions in the chat, but all of them, they can open their mic one person at a time and talk to you directly.
Okay, open to any questions.
Should we raise our hands so it's more,
Sure.
or should I just speak?
You can just speak.
Can I just speak? Okay. I had to frequently shut off the video because I didn't want to be there crying a lot. So I've been following, sorry, because today was an extremely difficult day. And like most things, I think of people, there is no coincidence. I think things happen for a reason. I have been, I believe I've been trying to follow.
I lost you. Can you check your mic?
Yeah,
there you are. Okay.
And run through.
I'm losing you again. Can you make sure your mic's on?
You can't hear me?
Nope. Now I can. Now I can.
Now?
Now. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is this okay?
I think so. Yeah, you're a little bit in and out, but. No, I can't hear you now. Little bit.
Just check if your audio, it's going into the audio jack properly.
Not the background noise.
There you are. Now I can hear you. I heard you say the background noise, so whatever you did there.
perhaps I'll email you because I think.
Yeah, go ahead. Just speak slowly and close to the mic. So do you have the mic by your mouth?
Hello? Oh, wow. That was. Hello?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry.
No
There's too
problem.
many options.
It's okay.
So today was a difficult day. That's why I was crying. But my two specific questions are related to the person that you were speaking about, the person who had lost his mother in such a short time. So I've been trying to deal with my personal attachment to my mother, who's in a nursing home, and the care around her, even though it's a 5-star facility, is incredibly subpar. Separately, inspired by her for a while, I've been pursuing long-term elderly care using technology because I believe that human beings can be aided by technology. So there's my personal egoic pursuit of that. Yeah, like because I've seen it.
Maybe it's not egoic. Maybe you just are feeling, maybe it's charity. That's possible, no? Couldn't it possibly be that you're just feeling kind towards people? I think so.
The thing is, when you're just, this is the thing, when you don't know, I'm so sorry.
It's all right. That's all right.
Because we began at 6:30. At 5:30 or 5:45, I had an incredibly large argument with my father and my sister who were involved in this for the 900th time. And they said things that made me realize that perhaps I am being extremely selfish in pursuing this because I want to be in the limelight. But
I don't think I
sorry,
would
my
accept
question
that.
is,
Yeah, what's your thing?
my question is, I had it clearly articulated. Basically, is I do relate to the person that you spoke with, and what happened.
What do we do
what if you
about these
recognize-
people that we love so much that we're attached to? Is that what you're thinking? Like your mom?
Right. No. Yes, but I do know. I recognize that I do have an attachment to her, but if it relates to other people that's at large, and you think it's larger serving, if the impact that I can make, which I am pursuing, regardless of her, that I do know that it's required. But how do you remove all doubts and all realizations from yourself that possibly true connections that you might have to your ego?
Well, all
In
right.
pursuit of it.
First thing is you have to be much nicer to yourself, especially if your father and your sister aren't being nice to you. You have to be extra nice to yourself. You have to presume that your intention is good.
Presume.
Right?
Or is
Yeah.
that egotistical?
No, it's not egotistical. No,
Or it
I'll
gets
let you know.
circular.
No, no, it's not egotistical. When you decide you want to help someone, that's not ego. There's other things that are ego, but that's not ego. So I would say you got two things in your heart. One of them is, you're very close to your mom and you're going to really miss her if she goes. And the second one is you're doubting your own good actions, right? Both of those seem to be true. So I would just say it's obviously a much bigger conversation than we have time for, but I would say, for one thing, all of these people that we love so much, we have to try to connect to the soul and not the body and the personality. Because when you, the soul, see her, the soul, what you'll see is, isn't this lovely soul got the job of being your mother in this life, right?
Yes.
You all are going to go on to other things,
Mhm.
but in this life, that's what she was. And so you appreciate her love and her peace and her care, but you're not wanting to attach to the body and the personality and the circumstances, right? The inadequate response is what we want to do as much as we can is not take from the world, because the world doesn't have any energy or strength right now. We want to take from God and give to the world. We don't want to take from the world. So when you think of your mom or when you think of the job you want to do,
Or
realize
just
that
simply even in this nursing home, all the
even in
changes
the
that I want to
nursing home.
create, because I've seen, and it goes far beyond her. I
So to
amplified her,
take it,
extrapolate her, multiplied by 500 residents, and then how many millions of people that are in facilities. And I'm shocked. So I've been videoing every single
right,
interaction for the last 15 months because I
right.
realized whatever else.
Okay. So just
Yeah.
as simple, we can't take any more time because we have to do a little meditation, but I would just
Okay.
say, realize that it's not you that's serving them. You're pulling God's energy to serve them. All right. It's not that you are going to serve them. That's where the ego gets all tangled up. But you're developing your practice so that you can connect to the divine and share that with others. Right? So you're more an instrument.
And that's not egoic in and of itself.
Nope.
This is where
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right. All right. Is everyone else okay? Anything else feeling urgent before we meditate? I don't want to leave you in an uncomfortable place. If there's anyone sitting with something heavy, you take the time and let me know what that is so we can share. If you're okay, we'll do a little meditation. Everybody okay? All right. So let's do a meditation together. So I want you to sit really comfortably. Either your feet are on the floor or they're folded under you, okay? And your spine is straight. Your head is over your spine. You can close your eyes. And if you're comfortable, you can have your eyes open. And I want you to start by becoming aware of all the things that went on in your day. And letting them go. So just they may be like birds flying around. Just allow them to land so that there's nothing from the day. Just either let it land or let it fly away. And now bring your focus of attention to your mind. And invite your mind to become quiet. And feel the thoughts in your mind slowing down. Now invite your mind to become still. You feel your breath quietly moving in the background, keeping the cadence of your life. And now make your mind silent. Now move the focus of attention to your heart. And feel your heart, look at your heart. And if there's any sadness in your heart, or fear or worry in your heart, just open the door of your heart and let it fly away. Invite it to move out of your heart. And now, fill your heart with love. Pure, uncomplicated, natural love. So let that feeling of love move through your heart out into your body. And now beyond your body, into the room you're in. Let it fill the room you're in. And now beyond the room, out into the world. And that love and kindness from your heart touches all the places you've ever known and all the souls you've ever touched. And now that current of love moves to the places you've never been and the souls you've never met. Touching each one with loving kindness. Now move your attention to the seat of the soul, behind the eyes and the forehead. This is where you, the soul, quietly sit. And become aware of your natural peace. Your innate love. And the deep happiness that is your natural nature. And have this strong, determined thought that no one and nothing can take this away from you. Now, turn your attention upwards. And in an instant, the soul travels to the one it knows the best, its oldest relationship, its parent, the source of life, God, the Supreme Soul. And just for a moment or two, allow the currents of love and peace and bliss to flow to you, the soul, from your spiritual parent. And know that every thought you have in this state of peace, love, and joy is a service to the world. And when you're ready, bring your attention back to the room you're in, all the while holding on to these natural qualities of purity, peace, love, and happiness. Om Shanti. So thank you all. It's been lovely to be with you.
Thank you, Sister Judy. It was a very insightful talk and very appropriate for the time, what we are all going through. So thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining us. We'll meet everyone again next Thursday. And I posted an information about the upcoming retreat in the chat. So please take a look at the website.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Om Shanti.
Thank you,
Thank
Sister
you.
Judy. Thank you so much.
It was
Blessings.
amazing. Thank you.
Yes, very amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.